Welcome to the Randy Cross Podcast. I'm Randy Cross. Our season 4 now is officially underway. We are going to revisit the story of George Visger, my former teammate from the 49ers. His book, Battling Giants, his 38-year struggle against some incredible odds. It's really a fantastic story. I hope you enjoyed last week's story, and I think you're going to enjoy this week's story. So without further ado, joining me now is George Visger. All right, joining me again, as last week, George Visger, my former teammate with the San Francisco 49ers and author of the book Facing Giants, his 38-year battle against, heck, who's he fought? He's fought the NFL, he's fought Travelers Insurance, he's fought a lot of people. And also joining us, Nhl, George describes as his memory bank, which is fantastic. All right, George, welcome. Thanks for joining me again, and Renee.
Thanks for having me back.
All right, George, the book itself. How far away are we from seeing the book as far as will it get to the publishers and maybe get out and about here in a timely manner?
We're shooting to have it out this fall. It's written, it's edited, being edited right now. Jennifer's about probably be over a third of the way through it, cleaning it up and then tightening it up. And so we're pushing to get it out here soon, the next, let's say, couple of months at the latest.
What was the most difficult part of doing this? I know you've obviously had some issues, mentally, brain-wise. How do you write a book? How do you keep the information and the timeline straight?
Well, the way it started originally, I've always had to write things down. I have 30-something years of every day of my life. I get up in the morning, I have my notebook in my back pocket. People call me, I write down 9:14, I'm writing down the conversation. And so I've literally kept diaries for days. And then back in probably 2010, I was going to see a doctor. And when you see a new doctor, they want your history, your medical history.
Yeah.
I'm there for, an hour. And so I one day I thought, I want to write everything out. And so I started going through my history, and I wrote, okay, my first major concussion, knocked unconscious, my third year Pop Warner. And then I wrote, oh yeah, we won the championship that year, and that was the third year, and that was after, and then it was in high school, we nationally ranked, undefeated, team, and then when, number of, concussions there, Colorado, Orange Bowl. I started putting stuff in around injuries, and all of a sudden I had about 40 pages, and I thought, that's the beginning of a book. My problem is that it just kept going.
Right.
Years ago, we sent it to a publisher, and they said, what a story, but there was no ending to it.
Yeah.
Once we finished with the Travelers, it's like game over. That was it for me. That gave us a definitive ending, and we crossed the goal line, so to speak.
When you do write down a recollection with your book, the number of concussions you've had, and that's something, I've been, like you, played a long time, you get asked that question. Is there any way to know? Don't you almost have to ask the question back to the other person okay, what's your definition of a concussion? I'll let you know how many times that happened.
I always say, when people ask me, I ask them how many diagnosed concussions or actual concussions. You and I both know, if you hit, now they're saying if you hit hard enough to see stars, that is your brain concussing against your skull. That's a minor concussion. We had thousands.
Yeah, literally.
If you weren't seeing stars every day or every game, you weren't playing hard. And so it's like, what the definition of concussion also has changed over the years. So I'm talking about ones where I was knocked out or played entire games and don't remember the game or even that week, but no one knows that things aren't firing right, that's what, it gets me now when people say, well, guys, they should just take themselves out when they have a concussion. I say, you're the last one in the world to know you have one, Your teammates need to watch out for you when you're heading to the wrong huddle.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
Oh yeah. I've got one of those T-shirts.
yeah.
Yeah. The the amount of attention concussions and TBIs and specifically CTE has gotten over the last, let's say 10 years or so, since Ben Amalu really sort of opened people's eyes with the Mike Webster case and some of the other Steeler players. Has that been a good thing to you? Has it brought more attention to the whole idea, or has when that died down, has that just become another thing, another injury that's associated with football?
You know, I've been incredibly vocal for years, and I was kind of the outcast. And you know how it is, you know, in football, you don't talk about your injuries, you know, wimps. And so I was always jumping up and down about stuff, and I was kind of ostracized for it. You know, guys are going, you know, he hardly played, and you know. So in 2010, when that article in GQ magazine came out, The Game Brain, Jean Marie Laskus wrote that 26-page story on Amalu, and it starts with Webster's autopsy, and honest to gosh, and I didn't. It's funny. One of my old Colorado teammates texted me one night. I was working real late. It's when I had my environmental consulting firm, and they said, "Hey, Vish, you need to read GQ magazine." Da da da. And as I tell people, as you can see, I don't read GQ magazine. So by the time I went to get it, it was out of print. But I pulled it up one night and printed it. And I still have that, and I'm reading it late one night, and I'm underlining things and writing things in the columns, and I'm just getting angrier and angrier and angrier, when they're talking about how the NFL was ripping Amalu. And so I get done with that story, and I still have that original one all dog-eared in my computer box or bag or whatever. So the very next day, I think I got to find this Amalu. I understand. And I track him down. Now, he was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania when it started, right? Right. I track him down. He's the head neuropathologist for the San Joaquin County Coroner's Office in Lodi. He's like 40 minutes from me. And so I somehow pull up his cell phone number, and I get him, and I get this voicemail, and I just leave him in this crazy. I said, "Hey, Dr. Amalu, my name's George Visger. I've had 9 brain surgeries. You know, we need to talk." He calls me back, you know, within minutes, and we meet that night for dinner, and we have been very close. Bennett's been on our advisory panel for years. He and I have presented together, and it was like, I said, I understand. I said, I know what you're going through. I've been doing it for 20-something years at the time, you know. And so Ben and I have been very close, but he, you know, it was hard for him to understand why people didn't embrace him when he brought this information out.
I mean, people really don't understand when your title of your book is Facing Giants, how big what you're going against really is. I mean, it's not just a game. It's not just a business. I mean, you're going against a lot more than that.
Well, and on the cover of my book, the Giants I'm facing, there's 3 of them. So I'm facing hydrocephalus, which, you know, every day my shunt could go out. I could go in a coma. I mean, literally, I could die. I've been facing the NFL for 38 years. I've been facing the Travelers for 38 years. Just, you know, it's just been a nonstop battle against those 3 giants. I mean, NFL grossed what, 19 billion last year. The Travelers 26.3 billion 2 years ago. Travelers even bigger than the NFL. And here I am, you know, I was, you know, a substitute high school teacher, you know, swinging a hammer during the day, you know, just surviving for years, you know. Then I finally finished a degree at age 32 after 8 brain surgeries, a biology degree, and I was a wildlife biologist for years. But and then with the memory thing getting worse and worse, I just couldn't stay on top of things, you know.
How have you learned to live with this? I mean, is this a matter of adapting? Is it lifestyle? Is it, you know, how do you live with something like this? Because you talk about, you know, Dr. Amalu, you sound like from your case and everything you've done, you'd be a prime candidate to help science-wise as far as, you know, how the those tau proteins in your brain and everything else having to do with CTE starts.
Bennett has flat out told me years ago, he says, you know, you have it, George. And I've told him, I said, you know what, I'm sure I do. I said, but it's not going to beat me. I have done everything in my powers. One, the way I've gotten through over the years is with the notebooks. I'm not shy at all about telling people I don't remember things. That's why Renee's on this thing right now. She will sit in literally every conference call I have. She'll sit in the back, sometimes not even say a word, and just listen to and I'll be taking notes as we're talking on these meetings, but I'll miss things, you know, and she'll say something, don't forget, you know, and I'm thinking, when did they say that? I have reminders on my phone beeping on my calendar. I have Post-its all over my refrigerator. I have come up with, and as far as functioning wise, in 2010 and 11, I was on 4 different dementia medicines at once. I was on anti-seizure pills. I was on Ambien because I've gone up to 4 nights straight and unable to sleep. And through my own investigation, I found more healthy ways to take care of myself. I got into hyperbaric oxygen treatments. I've done 238. I work with Dr. Barry Sears. I do real high dose, 12 to 16 grams a day of omega-3 fish oils, natural antioxidants like cranberry juices, blueberry to reduce inflammation. I read, I work my brain with dementia meds. And my neurocog memory scores improved over 14%. So I am a student of my injury. I have been for years. I don't just depend on professionals like doc to you know, to tell me what to do. I work with them. And I've done everything in my powers to keep functioning, and I've managed to hang in there for a while.
Well, it's to me, it's incredible because you besides as incredible as your story is, how are you not more affected? How are you not more outwardly affected by what's happened to you? Was your ability to cope, your ability to sort of present as being quote unquote normal, right? Was that a huge part of why you had to fight so long? Because you weren't weren't wheeled in a chair, you know, drooling all over yourself.
Right. I mean, the fight on the insurance side. I mean, that's part of it because I present great, but half the time, like if you were to ask me what we did last night, you know, I'm always asking people around me, you know, what did I do yesterday or whatever. And then what I'll do is I'll read through my notebook every day usually, but I'll read through the week prior. So I've read those days multiple times. And even though sometimes I don't remember doing things, I've read it so many times, it's ingrained in there. But I know, and when I do my talks around the country on brain injury recovery, I tell people, I said, a lot of us, we look fine. You know, you have no idea that were I to walk out of this building, I have no idea what side of the building I parked on unless I write it down. Here's a perfect example. One day, a few years ago, my ex-wife had called and I was going to head over there. She lives about 30 minutes from me and she needed something fixed at the house. So I said, well, I'll stop at Home Depot. So I stop at Home Depot, I get my notebook out and I write. I count the street light rows, 5 rows. I'm in the 11th spot. I write down on the north side of the building, write down exactly. I go in to get a couple things. I come out, count everything up. Look, my truck's not there. I'm thinking, maybe I wrote north side, but it was the south side of the building. Anyway, long story short, I'm going back and forth for almost an hour. And I'm looking at the exact same spot for the 10th time. And it dawns on me, my truck's been in the shop for a week and I have a rental. And I'm looking for my truck.
Yeah.
And I'm getting more and more angry. The thing with me is the frustration and the anger, not being able to get things done like I used to. That caused a hell of a rift with my whole, with relationships all around me. You know?
Wow, it's just incredible. You talked about the thing with the insurance company, that's sort of your goal line once that got done. So for you, is all of this over? from a legal standpoint, and now it's go on with the rest of your life?
Supposedly. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So we finally settled last October, and it came down to the wire, 8.5 hours into it. I jumped up and told the judge, I'm walking. They came back and raised what they wanted from me. They raised their lien. And so he convinced me to give him one more shot, and an hour later, 9.5 hours into this settlement, and all I've ever wanted was my medicals paid for. I've never asked for anything else, just cover my injuries, you know? Like if I'd worked for Kmart and had brain surgery, I would be covered. It has been mind-boggling to us. So we finally settled last October. And also I had a knee injury, you know, work comp. You know, I had surgery, and I had 2 more a couple years later repairing what our great orthopedic goofed up. And so we're supposedly done. We're done. And so now, once we stepped out of that building, that's the back page of my book. It's the front page. I'm facing those giants. They're coming at me. And the back page, Jennifer and I are walking out of the stadium. It's just beautiful blue skies and green hills, and it's a brand new life. I'm out of the battle. My sword stuck on the goal line. We crossed it. So that's how it ends. But now it's done, and sometimes it's hard for me to believe it, because I've just been so used to every hour of the day. Just it's on my mind. You know, I've got to get this done. It's going to be another battle. I would go to get a prescription, and there would be some battle in line. Oh, they called and they said they're not paying for this anymore. You know, so it's amazing. It's like 1,000,000 pounds were lifted off me, and I can see again. I've been in a tunnel for years, so focused on this battle, and suddenly I can see that big old valley, like when we're walking out of the stadium now.
Yeah.
You know?
How many George Visgers are there out there, do you think? I mean, it's scary to even think about. I mean, I told you last week, you're the example I always bring up to people. That's, you know, hey, I played for 21 years. I had no issues. I played with a guy for a brief period of time, a couple of years at San Francisco, that's had the brain shunt surgeries and this and this and this and this. I mean, how many are there other people out there like you? Did you find out there's a whole community, or?
There are a hell of a lot more than, especially guys like me, because I was a no one in the NFL. I was one of the thousands and thousands that barely make it in there, and then they're gone. I can give you a couple examples. One you know very well, your UCLA teammate, Terry Totolo. You know, I found him living under an underpass in 2012, teeth missing, and had to ask me, do you think there's something wrong with me? You know, a good friend of mine, Jason Harrison, who only played 1 season on the Niners practice squad and 1 season with the Broncos, and then went on to build this huge $50 million business, and then he took his own life. I called up O'Monnell that day, and Bennett did he had like stage 4 CTE. There are the problem is that it impacts different areas of your brain and different people. So you may be able, your executive functioning may be okay on this person. I mean, when you see what went on with Webster, that was nothing like some of the guys I know, you know, but there are other areas of their life. Impulse control, that's why a lot of these guys end up taking their own lives. They get a thought in their mind, and you and I it would just be a thought, and they have no buffers. They're gone. And I've been there too, as far as anger issues, where my buffers, you know, are really depleted. I think a lot of that's just from the frustration over the years. You know, I think it's well deserved that some of my buffers have been taken up. But you know, every brain is different, and every injury is different. So some guys, and then people like you, people like my old teammate from Colorado, my roommate Stan Brock. He played 16 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stan's doing great. You know, maybe it's partly genetic. Some of us may be predisposed to concussions. You know, they don't know.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if I'm still on track on your question.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
No, I mean, do you ever watch the game anymore? Are you around the game? Can you watch the game?
You know what? Years ago, I was asked to coach high school, and I just said, you know what? I can't. If I have a kid injured, what would I tell a mother? You son of a, you taught my son the exact same way you were taught, and you knew better. And so I stayed away from it. But then years ago, I did get into, I coached. My first year was with my two older brothers who played college ball, and they convinced me to coach with them, my nephew's team, JV in high school.
Yeah.
And had fun. And I'd tell the kids, we're out here to have fun. I'm not some Vince Lombardi screaming, you know. So I did coach a couple years, but as far as watching the game, I probably went 5, 6, 7 years when I got out. I never watched a single game. I would intentionally go duck hunting on Super Bowl Sunday. I didn't want to be around it.
Yeah.
And then over the years, then I would kind of watch, and even when I watch a game, I couldn't even tell you who won the Super Bowl last year, but if I watch a game, I'll watch parts of it. I watch like we used to watch the game film. I'm watching a defensive tackle, you know, split a double team, and someone will come in, what's the score? And I'll go, I don't know, but this dude had a hell of a play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I really don't even care who wins. But then I over the years, I mean, I really don't even, I haven't sat down and watched a full game in forever. You know, bits and pieces I'll watch, you know. But even then, even this last year, I don't even know if I watched anything.
Concussions in general for people. How scared should they be if they have any kind of a history, head injury wise?
You know, I'm not one to raise the red flag and everyone's going to get CTE and you know, but what studies have shown is that the younger you are when you're first concussed, the more predisposed you are in the future. And I just think that parents should be cognizant of that. And in the old days, when they did one of these, and you're good to go back out and play, you know, they need to err on the side of caution, you know. And I tell these kids, hey, listen, if you plan on playing, take a couple weeks off, whatever they tell you, what 2 or 3 weeks. You're going to have years to play if you're playing, but you know, there's definite things they need to be concerned with. The highest rate of concussions, women's soccer. People are not aware of that. Their trapezius aren't as developed as ours. When they're heading the ball, they're taking great shots. You know, when they get knocked down, which they do on occasion, head whips down to the ground. Yeah. So there are some things, but you know, you don't want to say kids can't play, you know, girls can't play soccer, but they just need to be more cognizant of some things, you know, and take the appropriate actions. Well, now there are some things you can do prophylactically. Having prophylactic levels of omega-3 fish oil. See, I presented this to the NFL years ago. Have a hyperbaric chamber in every locker room. If you're concussed, studies have shown if you get in immediately, most will return to full cognitive functioning within 24 to 48 hours. Get everyone on prophylactic levels of omega-3s. They're good for your brain and your heart anyway. And they ameliorate the inflammation in your brain immediately if you're concussed. So there are some things that you can do precautionary, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't want to raise a red flag. Football, I don't know if they'll ever make that safe. You can't.
Well, no, it can never be made completely safe. The game that we played in the '80s though is completely different than the game that's being played now, from a rule standpoint, and it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean. People our size are fullbacks and tight ends.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd be way too small to be a old position.
Isn't it crazy the size? And they're athletes too.
Oh yeah.
People think these guys are just big old potatoes running around. It's like, no. It is crazy, the size and the speed, and it's all kinetic energy, you know. 1/2 the mass times velocity squared. I mean, you get guys that size, the size of them now. They've done studies on the G-force. Okay, a jet fighter pilot will pass out between 10 and 15 Gs on an extended acceleration, right? Average offensive lineman and defensive lineman will register 15 to 20 hits of 25 to 30 Gs per game, and DBs and linebackers have registered hits up to 150 Gs. The reason why they don't knock out is it's quick, but their brain is sloshing around in there. So, again, I got off track if I'm even.
No, you're good. You're good. No.
But just, and you know what it is? It's not even, people think it's concussions. It's not concussions. It's the thousands of subconcussive hits that, especially the linemen.
Yeah, the linemen for sure.
I mean, every play we're banging heads. So I tell people this, picture this, if your job entailed going to work every day and you move your desk next to the wall, and during the course of the day, you just go like this against the wall, let's say 70 times, 50 times a day, like you would in practice, you know, do you not think that after a few years of doing that, you might have some issues, you know, not even hard hits, but just, you know, you think about it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It is wild. Hey, so George, you talk about the front of your book, you're kind of going into the fight, the back of the book, you're going out of the stadium. What's next for you as you go out of the stadium? What's your plan down the road?
I want to get the Visger. Now Renee, you know, jumped in big time with me when I started up the Visger Group Traumatic Brain Injury Consulting.
Okay.
So she just had you booked we have a Zoom meeting coming up in a day or two with a group in Australia. I've spoken, you know, done talks around the country. I've had interviews with a big magazine in Germany did a big story on me. You know, Britain. I've done TV deals in Brazil, was it, Renee? I mean, so we want to get that going again because I have a heck of a opportunity to help a lot of people. By the grace of God, I function great for what I've been through. And fourth quarter for me is I want to get this going again, get back out speaking, working with hospitals, working with teams and schools to teach a little more, you know, safer techniques. We work a lot with the military vets. You know, what is it? I can't remember. It's 6 to 8 suicides a day now with military folks.
22 is the number.
Is that what it is? Yeah. It's crazy. So we have a couple of military guys on my advisory panel. Khalid Duden, Purple Heart, Bronze Star medic from the Battle of Fallujah. Mm-hmm. I have him at talks with me. That when I get into the military stuff, I turn it over to him. I said, don't listen to me. Let Khalid tell you what it's like. So I want to work, and we want to work with anyone out there with brain injuries. I have a gift to be able to pass this stuff on. So I feel that's what my mission is. You know? Yep.
Well,
really feel that.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate you joining me. It's great to reconnect after all these years.
Absolutely.
And fantastic. Great luck to you too, Renee, as you and George move forward. And keep us in mind. Keep us in the loop. I would love to know what happens first, what happens next.
We will. We'll keep you in loop. So we won't wait 38 years.
No, that's good. It's a deal.
Renee, remind me to keep in touch with Brandon.
All right, both of you. Thank you so much, and good luck going forward. Really appreciate it.
God bless you. Stay
healthy.
God
bless you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Many thanks to George and Renee. It's just something. You hear this story, and at times that can't be true, but it is 100% true. It's incredible, and God bless George and Renee for the work that she does for him. And again, George Visger, VISGER.com for more information on the book and what George does. All right, time now for the world of sports. Ah, yes, the world of sports. Well, it's going to be a smaller sports world, but you wouldn't be able to tell from all the scores we've got. We'll start with college football. Hey, look, the Big Ten is coming back. They've made their announcement. The Pac-12 is coming back. They've made their announcement. So has the Mountain West. So has the MAC Conference. So all 10 major college conferences are back to playing college football. Eventually. For how long, we don't know, but we're going to see. But the games last week were back in full force, and we'll go over quite a few of them here, just based on the scores. All right, the number 2 team in the country played. Alabama played at Missouri and dealt with them pretty well, 38-19. Mac Jones, his first real full-time starter job. Oklahoma wasn't as lucky. Oklahoma hosted Kansas State, and Kansas State came in and for the second year in a row beat Oklahoma. They beat them last year at Manhattan, Kansas, this year at Oklahoma. Georgia went to Arkansas, struggled with Arkansas early. It was 7-5 at one point, but scored 30 points and pulled away with an easy 37-10 win. Florida looked fantastic. The offense is unreal. Kyle Trask threw 6 touchdowns. Kyle Pitts caught 4. It was quite a performance. The Florida Gators are going to be a team to reckon with. Speaking about a team to reckon with, Mississippi State. KJ Costello, their quarterback, ran Mike Leach, their head coach's offense. Air raid, unbelievably, 623 yards passed for, an SEC record, and they take out the defending national champions 44-34. Hats off to them, great job. Auburn, number 8 team in the country, they took out Kentucky. Kentucky came in, figured to be a really close game. It wasn't, mainly because of the job the defense of Auburn did against Kentucky. Ranked on unranked. Here's a ranked on unranked. Number 8, Texas, 63-56. No, I didn't sneak in a basketball score. This is a football score. And Texas, as they are wont to do, had a little concentration issue, but closed well and finished good at the end and won. The number 10 team in the country, Texas A&M, was in action. I guess you could call that action. Vanderbilt, who I think has lost or had more players sidelined between opt-outs and injuries and transfers and everything else, hung with Texas A&M in College Station, and A&M could only manage a 17-12 win. The number 12 team in the country, the Miami Hurricanes, played Florida State and absolutely battered them around the head, knees, waist, feet. They beat them everywhere. 52-10 was the score, and it wasn't really that close. All right, next up, the Pitt Panthers played the Louisville Cardinals, who were also ranked, so this was a ranked-on-ranked game. And Pat Narduzzi and company and their quarterback Pickett came through. This is a tough physical football team that's going to really make some noise in the ACC. Next score on the block here is the Cincinnati Bearcats. Luke Fickell's football team played the Army Black Knights from West Point, and Cincinnati came out with the win. Tough physical football team at Cincinnati. Be interesting to see what they can do. And the UCF Knights, 51-28 winners at East Carolina. Dylan Gabriel of UCF should be a Heisman finalist at this rate. It'd be interesting to see how he's treated. In other news sports-wise, the NHL playoffs. Heck, the NHL finals are on. It's 3-2 currently right now in a series between Dallas and Tampa Bay. Game 6 to be played Monday night. So you keep track of that. And this time next week, we'll have a Stanley Cup winner. So they'll be skating around drinking beer out of that big trophy, big silver trophy that they award for the NHL. In the NBA, they're not quite as lucky. They haven't gotten around to the finals yet. Though the West Finals are over. The Lakers took out the Nuggets 4-1. And the Lakers will now be in the NBA Finals again. Seems like it happens all the time. It'll be the 10th trip to the NBA Finals for LeBron James. On the other end, we're trying to see between the Celtics and the Heat who is going to be that representative to play the Lakers. And Miami's leading that series currently. So NBA Finals, let's see. This is the last few days of September. Sometime by the middle of October, we should have an NBA Finals champion. Can't promise you that'll actually happen, but it's going to be close. All right? That'll do it for the world. No, it doesn't. Hold on. One more note in the world of sports. Yeah, the Atlanta Falcons did it again. But the score that got it all started was 28-3. And in the immortal words of my buddy Jim Nance from CBS Sports, for Atlanta, it's a tradition unlike any other. What a bunch of dummies. All right, that'll do it for the world of sports. Now for the feel-good story of the week.
This is the good news. This is the good news.
All right, do you remember that great TV show with Robin Williams called Mork and Mindy? Well, I'd like to introduce you to Mork. And we'll let this story explain itself. But if you don't like this, well, face it, you don't have a soul.
Where the Moogie Monster?
Here he is.
Imagine sort of a bunch of foals together with some fur on them, and that's pretty much what he is. He's a walking bunch of quirks.
Are you ready to see the cardiologist today?
He's got heart arrhythmia, he's got IBD, he's a testament to why people need to stop messing around with genetics and breeding for looks. Mary Bell came in to rescue, and obviously she looks like an alien too. They just became this little duo. Mork is like her little rock, you know, she goes to him and she likes to sit by him. She is a puppy with special needs that has hydrocephalus. She is not going to live a long time, but that doesn't mean that her life doesn't count. So it's really just about trying to let them live in their joy for as long as they have it and embrace it. Unfortunately, we can't control certain things, so it's really just about trying to encourage people to live in the light and embrace the moment.
Okay, let's hear it for Mork. That's a little different looking dog, I gotta be honest with you. That's two different looking dogs. But they found each other, and it seems like they're happy as hell. Thank you again for the Dodo for a great story to cheer up the day. All right, let's go now and remind you where you found us and where you can find us in the future. You can always go to randycross.com. You can always go to thegruelingtruth.com or barnburner.ca. You can go to Facebook, go to Twitter, you go to iTunes. You can go all over to find this podcast, but more importantly, go to randycross.com for all your podcast needs. All right. Hey, we've shown this a few times already, but I just don't get tired of the COVID PPE fail masks.